different color patterns or color variations between the races. So we've got a northern race and a southern race, or a dune race and a heathland race. So now in Dorset, you have heathlands. So these two are from Dorset. These two are from Surrey. These four together come from heathlands. And then these two here, with undoubtedly the best coloration, are from the Merseyside. Now, these are the same lizards that we will get in North Wales. So they'll share this color palette, and they won't be as dark as these up here. These two at the bottom are from the Netherlands. Sand lizards aren't as rare across Europe. We do tend to find them a little bit more regularly. And then this is a hypermelanistic one that was found in Ainsdale. So again, dune race. And yeah, one more time, I pinched that from Liam Russell's paper. I can't recommend reading it enough. In fact, I pinched another image from it. This is a little bit about identifying the lizards. So one of the aspects of the project is, we release the lizards, and then the goal is to try and find them again. So we know whether they're dispersing properly. Now, there's a particular way of doing it. I don't personally do it. Mick Brummage does it. His photos are far better than mine, and he has the skills to do it, but it's based on the pattern that runs down their back. Fortunately, when they shed, the pattern stays exactly the same, and it's unique to every lizard, so it does make identification possible. And point out again, read Liam Russell's paper. It is very good. Okay, so onto the project. It's got a nice short name, the North East Wales Sand Lizard Monitoring Program. Rolls off the tongue. We've got a number of partners, so I popped them in alphabetical order. Amphibian and Reptile Conservation, Bourne Leisure, Denbighshire and Flintshire County Councils, ENI UK Limited, Natural Resources Wales, and of course Cofnod, who deal with all our records and help us out with a variety of different things whenever we get into trouble with our data. So a little background on the project. I'll scroll down so you can look at my best landscape photo ever. I might stick to landscape photos because I realize landscapes can't run away and hide. So it's easier to get photographs of them. But yeah, basically, project started in 2003. There was a release at Presthaven, and then the following year there was another release at Gronant, and then a few years down the line in 2013, Talacra down at the Point of Ayre was introduced into the project. We have ongoing habitat management along the dunes, and yeah, there's been a variety of different reintroductions and reinforcements over the year. But I thought I'd include this image here just so that you can see it's a marram grass dominated dune system, and this is perfect for sand lizards. You can also see a bit of Clematis vitelba taking over there and over here, which I'll go into in a bit. Okay, so the sites. We've got Gronant Beach down here, which is along Barkby, and then Presthaven, which is by the caravan park, and then lastly we've got Talacra. So the sites take up a large amount of space. So what we do in order to keep the record, well, to make it easier to conduct habitat management and track our records, they are broken into sections. So here we've got the car park at Barkby Beach, the little public toilets. This is Gronant section 1, section 2, section 3. And then down here, we've got a new section that isn't, you would expect to be section 4, but it's currently not listed as one of our sites. But we are finding sand lizards in this area. I have included the natterjack ponds just because I like to go walking down there and look at them. Okay, anyway, we'll move on to Presthaven. So they're quite close. Presthaven starts with section 1, 2, 3, and it goes along all the way along the coast like that, ends at section 7. Now they probably do join, or they will join, with Talacra at some point. So Talacra section 8, 9, and 10. So that gives you a good overview of the location of the sites and just how we break them up. Oh, this talk thing is in the way. I might be going through this a bit quick because I have a tendency to waffle, so I'm trying to keep myself on time, so I do apologize. But if you've got questions, just drop them in the box, and yeah, I'll answer them at the end. Okay, so as we mentioned, there has been a number of releases over the years. This is just a quick breakdown. I'll start off at Barkby Beach. So we've got in 2017, you can see there was a number of surveys that took place down the dunes, primarily along the edge by the golf course. In previous years, they tended to be clustered, dropped in single locations. So here you can see with every release, we keep track of the data. So the grid reference of where the lizards were dropped, the number of lizards, the date, and then the recorder and any other comments. So for this, we've kept records of all 15 releases at Gronant. Sorry, I will change between Gronant and Barkby Beach. They are the same site. Now, if we come into Presthaven, you can see we've had 6 releases here in a very clustered formation. So there's been 6 releases there, and again, we've kept track of all the records from that over the years. And then lastly, we've got Talacra, which is the newest of the sites and has a slightly less clustered release. What you will find here is that although they're not as clustered as at Presthaven, they're not as spread out as Gronant, but we are releasing large numbers. I say we, I wasn't involved with this, but we released 65 juveniles at this point, 17 there. So they are large numbers. Now, the reason you would want large numbers released in a certain area is because they tend to be a communal species. They don't disperse very far. But over the years, we've had 221 released at Presthaven, 359 at Gronant, and Talacra 192. So in total, we're looking at 772 sand lizards have been released along this stretch of coastline here. Oops, let's scroll down. So their current distribution, this is going from 2011 to, well, currently. And what you'll notice is around the release sites, that's where we're finding our hotspots. As I said, they are a communal species, so they don't tend to disperse very far. However, at Gronant, we are finding there is a easterly movement heading towards Presthaven. And at Presthaven, interestingly enough, we've had both east and westerly migration by the looks of things. You can see, so if I zoom in here quickly, sorry, I realize too much zooming and panning can make people feel unsettled, so I'll try to keep it to a minimum. But this is the release site here, and then we've got another heat patch starting up along this edge here. And I'll go into why I think that's happening in the next map. Talacra, our youngest site, we don't have many records, but the records are showing a similar trend around the release sites, and then a little bit of dispersal to the left and the right. Okay, so I mentioned at Presthaven there was the second heat spot turning up, and I think it's most likely from the habitat management that's been taking place. So we do sand patching, which can be done either by hand or mechanically extracting vegetation using a digger. It's basically to create open patches of sand so that the lizards can bask and lay their eggs. So over the years, 2018, 19, 17, and 13, there's been a variety of sand patches created. And along the bottom here, you can see 2013, 5, 2017, 24, 18 was 30, and then last year we did 66. But what I wanted to show you really was this here, which I found quite interesting, is to try and assess whether what we're doing is working. This is a map of the proximity of sand lizard records to sand patches within 5 meters. And I went with 5 meters because we use a Garmin eTrex 10 handheld GPS, and they can be off up to 5 meters. So I kind of went with 5 meters on that. But it does tend to show that, you know, the majority of them are falling within the area. particularly at Presthaven, which I wanted to talk to you earlier about. So this is the release site over here. And then if we have a look, this is where the sand patches came in. So these are new sand patches that were created in 2018. And you can see as the sand patches came in, so our sand lizard records started climbing there. Now, unfortunately, we haven't been able to get out this year and do many surveys. We haven't found any sand lizards this year. But I'm hoping that next year, you know, the lizards are going to have moved over to a lot of our habitat management and or our sand patches, and we'll be able to update our maps. I'm particularly keen to update Tilacra. My records for Tilacra sand patches, it's my fault. I don't know what I've done with them. I'm going to have to track them down. But basically, I know that they're wrong because I can see the sand patches on the map, and I don't have those records. So I need to update this map. But it still shows you a reasonable little dot where they are found on a sand patch. Okay. So along with the habitat management, the sand patching, we went out last year. It was myself, Jim Kilpatrick, and Amy Trower, and we did an invasive vegetation survey, just a very brief one, just to get an idea of what's going on the dune system across Barkby and, well, the Gronand site, really. We were looking for 3 species, Clematis vitelba, sea buckthorn, rose, and trees, general trees. And what we found was roughly 2,900 square meters of Clematis vitelba, about 430, that's in front of me, 434 square meters of rose, and we found 99 sea buckthorn plants. Now, the sea buckthorn was up near the little tern colony, so those have been stem injected where they needed to be and removed from site, or pulled the smaller plants. The issue we've got is the Clematis vitelba is expanding rapidly across the site. I read a paper that said you can get 17,000 seeds of 1 square meter, and we have almost 3,000 square meters. Now, what we're finding is the plants are growing at the tops of the dunes, and they're moving east. So it appears that they're being blown from the tops of dunes on down the coast, and they're shading out all the available basking sites and egg laying sites. So it's quite a concern, and we need to get on top of that. Hopefully, hopefully we can sort that problem out, because the concern is that it's going to continue spreading. There is a quite a large stand already developed at Presthaven, so we're worried that the 2 groups are going to join. Anyway, let's talk about how we gather the data, because obviously it goes through Cofnod. You know, the volunteers and staff go out, we gather abiotic and biotic data. We fill it in onto this form here. Now, this form has changed quite a bit over the years. You know, the team at Cofnod have been exceptionally flexible with us. We've been able to add and remove things, change things, you know, making it a lot easier for us to crunch our data at the end of the year. One of the things we do is this, which I'm rubbing my head in agony just looking at it, the annual sand lizard report. I wrote the first one when I first started at my job, and I had more time on my hands, and I made it way too long. So now I have to keep it at the same length, but I don't have enough time to write it. So yeah, I'm not looking forward to it. But basically it covers everything that we gather, and it all comes from data that we store on Cofnod. So just a quick overview of our 2019 records. We had 216 records stored. We found 24 sand lizards, 177 commons. It does say 98 here, but I recently spoke to one of our volunteers and he told me that he did an extra 3 hours. So that should be 101. And we completed 57 surveys over the season. Now, we do keep an ongoing tally over the years from 2011. And 2019 was one of our better years. You know, we gathered more records, almost double the amount of records of any other year. Sand lizard numbers weren't the best, but you know, they weren't the worst either. There was a drop in 2018 where I think we kind of took our eye off recording common lizards. So there wasn't a massive population explosion. We just weren't gathering records on that. So we've made a concerted effort to rectify that. But generally, 2019 was an excellent year for the project. Alongside 2017, they're probably our two best years. The populations, you know, this is always a tricky one because it could be down to a variety of factors. Why they're moving up and down? It could be surveying efforts. It could be wrong place, wrong time. But one thing I will point out is Telacra down at the bottom here, which has suddenly jumped from 3 lizards to 10. I'm pretty sure that this is due to the positive habitat management that Kim Norman and her team down at Telacra are doing. The site is doing exceptionally well, and we've got high hopes for it in the future. So we offer training. Usually it's in a classroom and it's hosted by ENI, Amphibian and Reptile Conservation, in partnership with Bionet. But it had to be cancelled this year, and it looks like future years it's going to be a mix of online tutorial with on-site surveying. So we won't be able to have those face-to-face training for the foreseeable future. But if you are interested in volunteering, you know, drop me an email, and hopefully we can set something up, because yeah, it's always good to have volunteers. I thought I'd end with my fourth best sand lizard photo. It's a real cracker. It's a male and he's running away, and that's usually how I see them. Okay, I'll leave it at that. I just wanted to say thanks to Mick Brummage, Mandy, Kim, Sarah, Joel, Neil, all our volunteers, and everyone at Cofnod. You guys have been fantastic, and I can't thank you all enough for, you know, helping me get involved with the project. It's been brilliant over the years. So thank you.